This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. From the corporate office to the cab of a truck, they're here to inspire and empower women in all professions. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. We're a show that works to inspire and empower women in every profession and lifestyle, including the office, trucking, the trades, and even motherhood. We tackle all kinds of topics, and we work to encourage women to be their very best with informative guests and women who've been champions. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Kathy.
No topic is taboo on our rig. We tackle the tough topics along with the not-so-tough topics, and we like to feature experts and celebrities who can assist women in being the best they can be. Relationships are essential in our lives. They're fulfilling, and they give us the support and love that we need to survive. They're everything about being human. Sometimes relationships can get complicated. When we have issues with our significant other or family members, it can be devastating. It can dismantle who we are as a person in all aspects of our lives, including our careers. Dr. Liz Jenkins has been a licensed marriage and family therapist for over 30 years. She's been a clinical director of psychiatric hospital specialty programs for adult stress, women's, and children's issues. She's also a corporate coach and trainer. We wanted to get insight from Dr. Liz on what women are facing today, so we invited her on the show. Welcome, Dr. Liz. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much, Shelley and Kathy. I'm excited. This is really cool to be able to be here and just talk everything about us ladies and our lives and where we might be selling ourselves short or some hidden paths and hidden gems. So thank you.
These are always things we love to unpack here, definitely. I thought before we delve into some of the topics that you cover with clients, maybe you could give us a bit of your background as a therapist.
Sure, absolutely. Now, Gladys Audio, and I've been a licensed marriage and family therapist for almost, 38 years. And through my early work, it was, with women and with children and families. And then started there became more of an appreciation for the value of therapy. The stigma tried to drop, and men's were coming into therapy too. And I started meeting with couples as well, and started seeing how hard these folks were struggling, the women and the men behind the scenes, and how much our systems and our rules and our expectations were selling them short. And so I really started to kind of dive down and help people start to choose wisely and choose well from the beginning of the relationship. And that also meant to working with individuals to help them find out who they are and what their true needs are. Over the years, I would think I was just sharing with you that my husband and I just finished celebrated our 36th wedding anniversary. We're also empty nesters now with 2 adult daughters who have launched, and they've married, have their relationships and their lives. And so we're also going through another season of transitions with folks. And I took this opportunity to break out of the mold and not follow a system that wasn't working, which is traditional marital relationship couples therapy. And so I'm a connection coach. And so I work with individuals to get reconnected with themselves, but even more importantly with couples and married and in relationships to break through some of the old patterns and those myths. So I guess I'm a myth buster these days, and have the strategies and have the proper tools for their unique relationship. So I've been really, really enjoying this new pivot in my career, as well as figuring out what do empty nesters do when we're not running around with kids and critters.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, that's a transition in and of itself. First of all, I wanted to say congratulations on 36 years of marriage. That's awesome.
Thank you.
It's unbelievable from my perspective, honestly. It's like, wow.
That's great.
you. It's been fun. It is fun.
So, Dr. Liz, you walk the walk as well as
Mhm.
talk the talk, which is very cool. Connection coach. What
Mhm.
is that? I mean, how does that differ from other treatment modalities as a therapist?
Oh, great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Heather. In therapy, typically, we would take, like, let's say from a couple's perspective, we would give someone a diagnosis, and there's nothing wrong with the individuals. It's how those two people come together in their relationship or in their marriage that is creating the successes as well as identifying the gaps. And but for insurance, somebody's got to take the hit, so someone gets diagnosed, which is unfair. And it's not accurate. And sometimes that diagnosis pops up when it goes to custody battles, or just even in courts. Let's say life insurance, anything like this follows them. But it also mentally becomes a heavy load. Someone starts to feel, or even sometimes the couple feels, there's something wrong with me. That's why we're here doing therapy. And therapy means you get to see the person one time a week for 45 to 50 minutes. Many of my couples would leave the session after we've started to talk about something that was painful or an old fight. So things get uncovered, but there aren't any solutions. And so they walk down the hall or get into their car, and the battle is starting again. Sometimes they didn't even make it down the hall before the fight is coming up again. And so that therapy per se is focused on the problem. It's long, it's limited, and it gives for a couple. It reinforces the couple's message and mindset that there's something wrong with us. We aren't working well together. Maybe we made the wrong decision. And so it sometimes hurts more than it helps. I pivoted to coaching because for me, my whole goal in life has been, let's focus on the strengths. Let's notice what we're doing well, whether we're in school or in the kitchen or in a relationship. Those are gems. And then we want to identify the gaps. What isn't working? What are we missing? And for couples, I don't know about you guys, but I certainly came to relationships based on experiences that I saw with my family, friends, early peer relationships, all those types of things. Plus, when we come together in the relationship, it's not just my toolkit, it's also was my husband's toolkit. And so sometimes there's the right tools are in there, or one has, hey, here's the hammer, we need that. But maybe we need a wrench, and neither of us have a wrench or even know what wrenches are in our toolkit. And so my goal was to help couples see the strengths in their relationships and themselves, all right, to bring back enthusiasm, to bring back optimism, and then give them an objective, as well as my professional research-based, years of experience living it, as well as working in it, on how they could get the strategies, to get the tools to make that traction. So as a connection coach, I meet with my folks. We do a foundations first assessment. It's a research-based objective assessment that quickly identifies the strengths and the areas of opportunities. With my couples, we start with a foundations first assessment. It's an objective research-based assessment. It's all online. And that gives me very quickly identifies strengths as well as areas of gaps and opportunities for the couple, for the relationship. I also work, which is outside typical marital therapy, is I have private one-on-ones with each of the individuals. I get the inside story. I get their private thoughts or worries or concerns. I get the scoop or the dirt kind of on their spouse or their marriage. And I do that because I need to hear as quickly as possible what's going on for them privately, that they don't feel comfortable or sharing in a couples session kind of thing with the three of us, or if something that might cause a fight. And in the traditional thing, everybody's all together all the time. And so it sometimes leaves hidden things or hidden issues that aren't helpful to the if they're not uncovered, it's not helpful to the process. So I meet with people individually and we come back together, and then I design relationship roadmap, and it's based on the objective research from their assessment as well as our private interviews, and we come together. And from there, the rest of the coaching is based on very specific topics that they bring up or issues that are specific to them. We talk about conflict. I unveil what is involved in conflict, all the different styles, what each of their styles are, and then I give them strategies on how to manage that, so that they can have a constructive conflict, a constructive conversation, so they can put a pin drop in it or a timeout, and it doesn't get swept under the rug or escalated. And so I'm teaching them both personally as well as how their relationship, all these different tools. We talk about intimacy and friendship and life transitions and kind of whatever bubbles up for each of them.
You say that everybody has their own toolkit. I would say a lot of people bring baggage from their past into the relationship.
Yes.
And they need to throw away some of those old suitcases, don't you think?
Oh yeah, we definitely need to do some decluttering, right? and right cluttering, right? Absolutely. And those old baggage are like expectations and assumptions from past relationships. I expect to be let down. I expect sex to decline as we age, and other people are like, no, I just expect things to just get bigger and better, or these other hidden things of I expect say my spouse, my hubby, to be the primary breadwinner. I assume when we're talking about joint checking accounts, it means the same thing, or savings, or whatever it might be. And that's where I think my couples dictionary really comes into play. And I can share a little story to kind of illustrate like the couples dictionary, if that's okay with you guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Dr. Liz, I definitely want to do that, but we have to go to break. We'll pick up your story and all that information when we come back.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
Bringing the right toolkit and the correct expectations to a relationship actually helps in communication and gets it to thrive. The issue is we all have that past baggage we often bring to the table. Dr. Liz Jenkins is a couples counselor and corporate coach and trainer who helps people keep their relationships thriving. She's been sharing her insight with us. And before we went to break, Dr. Liz was going to talk about her couples dictionary and tell us a story that helps with communication. Sorry to interrupt you earlier, Dr. Liz. We look forward to your story and your insight.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Lovely, lovely couple. Two very, very wonderful, healthy people, the wife and the hubby, and they go and decide to have a child. Everything's on, check the box. Both of them had their careers. Both of them had separate checking accounts. They have the baby. It's a little baby girl. And by by plan, she's staying home as a stay-at-home mother a year to 2 years, just going to see how it's going to go. By plan, he's going to be the primary breadwinner. And everything is going great for a couple months. And then she makes a request to him that they need a joint checking account. He's okay, cool, got it. Now, mind you, they're eyeball deep in sleepless nights and colicky babies, and he's working extra overtime away from home, and he comes home and tries to do what he thinks a good hubby, a good dad does, right? Mm-hmm. And now the house gets really frosty. It gets cold. She is turning her back on him. She is taking the baby when he comes in the house and taking it upstairs, and he doesn't have a clue about what's wrong. That's when I entered, and she had reached out to me, and I started talking to her. And the primary, I say, trigger for all this, from being warm and fuzzy and we loving each other, to about another 6 weeks of her being really cold and frosty and sleeping with the baby upstairs and him being confused, is that she had asked him to set up a joint checking account. And she said, here's the information, but we need a joint checking account. And he said, okay. She assumed and expected that he would do it right away. That was it. It was a priority her. And he figured he'd get around to it. So when I talked to her, I said, so what's the big deal about this, joint checking account? Help me understand. She said, well, we've had separate checking accounts that we would feed in and share money back and forth, depending upon paying the rent, paying the mortgage, whatever it might have been. And it worked. I'm no longer working. I said, so is it a financial worry? She said, no, it has nothing to do with that. He's still throwing money over, and I'm taking care of the bills. I said, okay, what's going on then? And she said, it's a testament. It's a pledge to our daughter that we are parents. We're adulting. Proper adult parents who now have children have joint checking accounts. That's it. I said, oh, so it has nothing about efficiency or you're missing money. No, not at all. Everything's paid. I can get money whenever we need. So then I, enter hubby. I had a chat with him individually. I said, so what is it? Because I honestly don't know. She just, she's really mad. I said, well, she's mentioned the joint checking account. I said, yeah, she has. I'm going to get to it. I've just been trying to make sure there's enough money, and I'm by overtime and helping out house. So I asked him, so what's your idea about a joint checking account? And he said, it's a financial efficiency. It's so that because she doesn't have an account, it'll be in one spot and my paycheck will go directly into it. I don't have to, let her sign into the account. I said, let's have a talk. So when we had a talk, the three of us sat down, and I asked her to ask him to, asked her to share what she experienced about the joint checking account. And he shared his definition. The light bulb went on for him. It was like, hands down, I had no idea. I too am 100% dedicated to our daughter and to you. That is why I'm working extra hours and overtime. That is why I come home and try to pick up and do and take care of things, so that our daughter's going to have the nicest, happiest couple, parents, all that type of thing. And so they were on the same page, but it hadn't been explained to each other. And so those are those watershed moments where the room got warm again. They got lovey. He said, please give me the check-in information. I will go take care of it before I go to work. And that was it. Issue was done. And so I think so many of my couples, all of us, have these assumptions. We have a dictionary in our head. Yeah. What's it mean to be in a committed relationship? What's okay friend time, or what's proper feeding of the kids, should they have, what's junk food or playtime, good enough grades, kids turn 16, do they get their own car? Do they borrow a car? Do they get no car? There's all sorts of these quick thoughts that we haven't maybe translated or shared or done a deep dive with each other.
Well, when you think about it, couples don't necessarily discuss this stuff. They meet each
Mm-mm.
other. It's love at first sight or not.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
you go through that wonderful lovey-dovey rapture
Yes.
phase, and
Yeah. Everything they do is cute, right?
oh,
A,
sure.
a
And
couple years into it, they're annoying.
right, right. You're like, how did I not notice
Oh
this?
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like, and and then that sort of thing starts building up, and you've got
Mhm.
these expectations you bring into the relationship. You
Mhm.
don't discuss it
Right.
because when you go into business or something, you really outline everything. But you don't
Yeah.
do that when you have a relationship and you get married or you move in with somebody.
Right.
You might discuss a few things, and then you have these perceptions from your past life experience. It
Mhm.
really can interfere. And isn't it about communication?
It is about communication. It absolutely is, and that in itself is a whole the topic we'll talk about too. But I like when you said like the analogy of a business, because of having a marriage or a relationship is at some level a personal business.
Mhm.
But we can go Google business plans for cosmetology or opening up a franchise. They're there,
Yeah.
but it's really hard to find a business plan for setting up a marriage or a relationship on the untangible expectations, assumptions, or old just kind of thoughts that flow through it. And so I guess that's sort of what I do is like help couples create the business plan that they missed when they were first getting together. Because like I said, everything they do is cute, right? We're so
Mhm.
excited
Yeah.
about them. It's not a big deal. I don't mind picking up your dirty laundry and doing doing this. And you can leave those dishes stacked on the counter. And I just like, oh, it's so nice to have another set of dishes in the house kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
you enter kids, careers, I want hormones, right? All of a
Mm,
sudden,
yeah.
there's all those kinds of things, and those extra little things add up to resentment or burdens or fatigue that we didn't even realize was coming our way, and they don't realize it either.
Yeah.
And many times, whether it's myself and something that I've been doing annoying gets shared with me, or it's the reverse, it comes as a surprise because for months or years, it's been okay. And then
Yeah.
suddenly, it feels suddenly to them because we haven't been communicating or talking about that. It feels like it's an attack, and
Yep.
they're confused.
Well, quite often too, things can be communicated, but the other
Mhm.
party may not want to hear it. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
she's nagging again, this kind of thing,
Mhm.
and not listening. So
Right.
that creates a lot of animosity,
Mhm.
and resentment, and it just escalates, I would think.
It does, and I think that you really hit one of those keywords like just nagging, right?
For
Like,
people that can't express themselves or who are very introvert and they're
Mhm.
having issues. I know, like in my first marriage with my daughter's dad,
Mhm.
he intimidated me, and he was a
Mhm.
narcissist, so he'd always flip things around and
Oh yeah.
make it on me. And anyway,
Mhm.
so the way I found to communicate with him was I write. It's way easier for me to write and express
Mhm.
myself and then leave him a letter so that he can actually, process it rather than words. Because at the time, when he'd be standing in front of me, like he's six foot
Oh yeah.
three, and I would shut right down the minute his voice would rise.
Mhm.
Anything I would want to say was out the window. Right? And
Right.
then I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And then when he leaves, I'd be like standing, well, why didn't I say this? Or why didn't I say that?
Mhm.
Like, damn it. Right? So
Yeah.
I would write it, and then that way I could actually express everything that I really wanted to say.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So for me
Yeah.
at the time, that really worked. Now it's a little different, but now I can, hold my ground. But
Right. Well, then I think that's an absolutely fantastic strategy, and it is one of the ones that are in kind of like the toolkits as options, especially if I want to say I call like the fire and ice. He's probably louder, bigger, scarier when he
yeah,
got elevated. And your part I call my ice ones is that they say, I kind of like sink into myself. I lose my train of thought. I can't think about, I don't know what I was going to say. And you actually need to get space and get away in the moment to collect yourself and bring that level down, because we both people, when they're in that a conflict or something's building, it's in that fight, flight, or freeze. And so the logical part of our brain has shut off. If there's a physiological response, there's, and we're back into that reactive mode. And people have different strategies when they're in that reactive mode. And so one of the strategies to have constructive communication is to have ways to put a pin drop on it, be able to go get zen and get collected. And writing your thoughts out is fantastic and brilliant idea. And I congratulate you on that, because it gives you time to collect your thoughts, put it in a way that makes sense. It also gives him, in this particular chance, gave him a chance to absorb it. And he could pace and rant or have his opinions, or I've had people, highlight it and write it in red and, correct whatever they need to do, but it gives them a chance to absorb it in a way that doesn't damage the relationship or intimidate you. And then the two people can come together, or I have them just write your rebuttal and let's just keep going back. We'll keep going back and forth, but communication strategies are really important. And we grew up with words that maybe make sense in other arenas, but in interpersonal conversations, oftentimes take us off of our target and take us off of the direction that we want to go. Like words like you. That's like, okay, that's an attack. But many times that's how we start a lot of our conversation. You're the one that's always telling me, okay, so we're using the you, then I'm also throwing in an absolute, always, never, everything is your fault. Those are fighting words as well, because then it takes, when I say something like, you always leave the kitchen a mess. I'll just say something like that. Or you never park the car in the garage where I can get around to the deep freeze. They're going to go on a data hunt. They're going to go back in their memory and find the times that they kept that kitchen clean, or they parked the car properly, or I parked the car incorrectly. It wasn't. And so we've lost the gist of that, the potential talk. And now we're fighting data dumps with data dumps that aren't necessarily accurate. So watching the words from you instead of you, it's like, I have something that's bothering me, or I need to talk to you about something that I see happening. Now we're kind of being a lead in. We can use words instead of never. It could be sometimes or usually. Those are more accurate, and it gives the other person some squeaky room as well. The other one that I grew up with, and I don't know for folks out there that grew up in learning how to write properly, it was use the 5 W's, the who, what, when, where, and why. That why is great probably for writing, but when you ask somebody, why don't you ever do anything special for me? Why aren't we having sex anymore? Why is it that when your mother calls or your friends call, you always have time to do something to them? That puts them on the defense, and it feels judgy, and it feels like an attack. And many times people don't have a way to answer that except like, well, it's my mom. I just feel, like obligated to do that. Like, but I'm your wife.
Right.
Why aren't you taking my call first? At the type of thing, or why do we have to go to your mom? Well, it's my mom's, type of thing. And so we're not getting to the real crux, because if that why question doesn't allow the other person to come up with legitimate. If I pitch it back, let's just go back to, in-laws. All right. Because that's always a fun one.
Yeah.
Okay. And the holidays, at least when we're doing this, the holidays are coming up. And so let's just say, why do we have to why do we have to go down to their place? It's a 3-hour drive. I just want to have the holidays at our home this time. I want traditions for our family. instead of pitching it with a why, what we want to do is we want to come with a complaint or concern. And our spouses and our partners really do love us, and they do want to, do nice things for us. And so if I say, I'm really tired of going to the 3-hour drive to your folks. It was okay maybe when we were just the two of us, but my concern is we're not setting traditions, and we're not setting the family bonding at our home with our kids now. And I would really like to keep the kids off the road and have us have a wonderful first Christmas Eve. And then when Santa comes the next morning, we get to see that in our home. That's a whole different message that allows my partner, my hubby, to step in there and say, I get it.
And he doesn't feel attacked.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a choosing mom or mom, dad, family, family of origin kind of thing. With us, it's like, no, we're a family here, and I've got to, I get it.
Sure. Yeah. Cause, especially if you have a clingy mother-in-law, that's when a woman's going to say, how many people are in this marital bed exactly? Marital bed here. Why?
Yeah. That's absolutely true. And so it's just some of those, like, just understanding something. So I would say simple, but we don't know. Let's drop the why and lead in with how they're doing something or not doing something is impacting you. And that's where the concern comes in, or the complaint. Or I could flip email like, I just don't feel like I'm a priority, or the kids are a priority when it comes to the holidays. It seems like your family, your mom and your sister, they get to drive what we're doing with our family. That's another way of putting it. So when you have those little but important tools like and strategies, and both of you have it, and there's a place we get to practice it when they're working with me. And if it goes great, I get to hear about the wins or see the wins. And if it doesn't, that's why I have they have WhatsApp access with me. So outside of our sessions together, they can.
Well, that's cool.
Call text me in and say, what do we do? How do we do it? And I get really close to my couples, so I learn their styles and strategies, and so I can kind of anticipate how it might have gone and ask some questions, and then give them here's a redo. Redos are good. Do you guys ever do redos?
I've done a few redos in my life, I think. Yeah.
I love it. It's a real helpful way of just admitting that maybe I didn't show up right. Sort of like the eraser on a pencil.
Yeah.
And it's something that it's fun. It's funny that using that in my own marriage, and even with my kids and stuff, as they got into teens, they caught on to it, and they'd say, Mom, I think that's a time you need to do a redo. Okay. Duly noted. You're absolutely right. And they've applied those strategies into their relationships. And I think that is one of my passion projects there is helping couples come together, not only for themselves to just really have loving relationships that they desire and they deserve. And even if they came together with in a bumpy way, because not everybody comes together with everything planned. It's like the one earlier couple I was talking about, that they have the tools to get themselves on track and design a relationship that makes sense for them. But they're teaching their children by their examples and their family and friends that, it's not all what's on social media. Yeah, it's not all at social media where everything's all lovey-dovey. No, we have
everything looks pretty on social media, and everybody has perfect food.
Right.
Look at my plate. It's like, I'm sorry, when I'm really hungry and I'm trying to throw something together, my plate doesn't look that good.
know. And if it looks that good, it's not going to last very long. I'm not into, going to take a picture of it before I.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. But yeah. So in the real world, there aren't filters and there aren't perfect foods, and sometimes there's just mac and cheese and whatever else, and laundry piled up out of the, and that's life, and that's okay, and that's healthy, and so it's giving us, if we talk about women, it's giving us grace and space to prioritize ourselves instead of living up to some other kind of example.
And develop reasonable expectations. That's so important.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Trucking Moves America Forward, or TMAF, is building a positive image of trucking by telling the story of the hardworking drivers and industry professionals who support the industry. And you can be a part of it. Learn more about TMAF and how you can join and be a part of the industry movement working to build a strong image of trucking by visiting TMAF's website at truckingmovesamerica.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our latest channel, TikTok.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
Sometimes when you have a conflict in your relationship, you need to deliberately take a time out. The little things can add up to resentment or burdens that no one notices when they first start a relationship. Suddenly it builds up and people lose it. To get around this, communication is essential to convey your needs and get to the correct question by expressing yourself in a non-threatening way. That's part of the workaround. Don't verbally attack the other person. Express a concern or a need instead. Dr. Liz Jenkins has been letting us in on some of these techniques that are invaluable in keeping relationships healthy and moving forward in the right direction. Dr. Liz, what are some of the biggest issues you're seeing now with your clients? I know that I had read with all the COVID shutdowns, divorce rates went up dramatically.
Yes, they did.
Divorce rates and domestic violence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Isolation is huge on that. And you know what? I was going to say, also in 2008, when we had that, recession, hit a little pause, and divorce rates spiked up there as well. Or I would say conflict and marital discord spiked up, but people couldn't afford to divorce as well, so they had to kind of learn how to figure it out. COVID's isolation and fear, people that their normal routines, how they saw themselves getting up, going off to work, having the children at home, trying to homeschool the kids or put the kids in front of a monitor. They just never had time to let steam off. And there was legitimately a lot of concern and worry of where this was going. Many of them financially were impacted. I do see that as couples got through some of the initial crisis part of the COVID and things, yes, there were ones that were divorcing and things, but many of them started breaking the silence and figuring out ways to handle it, getting creative. How do we tag team so that I can do my work and I've kind of got the kids on, and then you take care of the kids and manage them. They started getting creative about being a team together. I'm still seeing anxiety being very high as a result of people being isolated and working from home. Their routine of going out and interacting with people, it had then artificially created a spike in anxiety and depression about having to go back out and re-enter social interactions that they usually, handled like a piece of cake.
People got out of practice, I think, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think they all of
Yeah.
a sudden, first of all, when they did go in public, they saw everybody with a mask on. And
Yes.
that was weird. I remember going through a hardware store And there was a guy with a Darth Vader mask on.
Oh, wow.
And he
Yeah.
comes around at the corner and I jumped. It's like, what the heck? You know?
Halloween. Halloween.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
wow.
Yeah.
But it was such a weird time. And then people were isolated, afraid to
Mhm.
go out, told
Right.
not to,
Right.
stay 6 feet apart, all of the above.
Right.
When they started to have to do it again, I think
Yeah.
we're creatures of habit. And for a couple of years not doing it, you have to
Right.
get back in the swing of things.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. And during the time, there was no date night. There was kids, critters, it was even at one point in time, I remember don't go out in the fresh air. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was weird.
If you go out in the fresh air, you take a walk or a run, you're supposed to wear your mask. Okay. And I know they're starting to see some research I was saying about children that were born during the COVID, or the young toddlers, that lack of seeing human faces and natural interactions and animation, that was playing on the kids' development. Socially, teenagers and preteens and stuff, not seeing their peers, not the suicide rate and depression rate went up with that. And so yeah, it's been a hard path for folks. I know you see now people are moving more to hybrids, where work is now trying to require people to come in a certain amount of time, or with work from home and go on site. I do have some people that are struggling with that. They still prefer the work from home. And there's others that are running, like the streakers, they're running straight into, I want to go full time into work. I am so tired of being at home all by myself. Even for my single people, they were telling me, I have not physically touched or hugged a person in over a year because of the lockdown.
And that's something humans have to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's made a big impact on things. I guess the good thing is that humans were really resilient, and folks are starting to come back around, looking at how do we recognize there's a disconnect. One of us or both of us has, pulled up the divorce word in our marriage, or but we're looking at other kind of options. Does this make sense? And so when I'm working with couples, even if one person sort of has the foot out the door, but they're willing to see, we talk about just how much the power of one person in a relationship or in a marriage can be to bring the system back on track, so that the other person, like, I'm not actually ready to divorce. I'm starting to see the heartbeat again. I'm starting to recapture some of the fun and the spark from when the early days. And so, whether people are starting 100% together, the two of them, or one person is pulling more for the relationship, change can happen, because we're in a system. And if one of us starts cleaning up how we speak or how we talk, if one of us is working very diligently to show up more authentically and listen instead of assuming and jumping through those, sparking the conversation, accusing people, it really does have an impact pretty quickly.
Sure does.
But one of my couples, you talked about the divorce and the COVID. It was about 8 months into lockdown, and this was a loving couple, the two of them, and they said, we're ready. We hate each other. We cannot stand each other. We don't know what to do. And so we started talking about it. They both own business people. They both owned the business together. She was typically in the office, and he was part of the design and supervision out in the field. But now they're 24/7. He wasn't going out into the field type of thing. They weren't going and doing the fun stuff. And so we started asking, what are the early, and this is like a tip for everybody, like if you're feeling like with your marriage or your relationship, let's go back to the early days. And I said, what did you guys do for fun? What was that spark and that juice? Well, they traveled. The early years were a lot of travel. They would go for a weekend someplace. They would plan trips, and they would put the money away, and then they'd go. So there was a lot of anticipation and deliberate, intentional stuff, plus the cool escape of going to a new place. And they hadn't done it at all. And so what can you guys do right now that sort of mirrors some of that early days? And so they unpacked the tent and they put one up in their backyard, because this is when COVID was hot and heavy and travel was at a dead zero. And so they started camping out and having little campfires and doing things in their backyard. And it really started ticking the box. They started having fun together. Then they started planning a post-COVID. And as soon as some of the campgrounds opened up, they were there with their tents. I had another couple that they began their dating and the courtship around music. And, 10 years and 12 years into their marriage, they weren't doing so well. And I asked them what was going on. And they told me about early years. And I said, so what kind of music do you play in your house now? And they kind of looked at me like, nothing. I said, so there's nothing on your playlist, Alexa or Siri? No, we don't play music at all. So they had a homework assignment. I said, let's put some music in there. And within 2 weeks, when I saw them again, completely different energy. They played music in the morning when they got ready. They played music in the afternoon when they got home. They went back to a little dancing and jiggling, and it was spontaneous, and it brought the spark back. Yeah. Very, very organic. So it's when you're feeling kind of off in your marriage or relationship, or even for yourself, I say let's follow the breadcrumbs back to when you were feeling great about yourself or the relationship. What was going on? What was the energy? That's going to give you some clues about what you might need or to add back in.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Kathy DeCaro is nothing short of amazing. She not only drives the world's biggest truck as a heavy equipment operator in northern Alberta, Canada. She's an international motivational speaker and the author of Dream Big, an autobiography about overcoming a lifetime of trauma and abuse that led to dreams of success. Kathy inspires people the world over to change their lives and improve their self-worth. Her book will change your life. She's passionate about personal growth and believes anyone can change their circumstances and overcome their obstacles if they believe in themselves. Her life will amaze you and seriously inspire you. Be sure to order a copy of her book, Dream Big, on Amazon.com. Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry, our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy DeCaro.
There's so much that goes into building and keeping a good relationship. The problem is we're not given a handbook or owner's manual to figure it out before we jump into one. Our backgrounds, experiences, and the way we communicate all impact how we get along. Dr. Liz Jenkins is cluing us in on all of these variables and how to keep a healthy relationship going. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist who's worked with clients for over 30 years. She's been giving us some great insight. So we just have a couple minutes left here,
Sure.
Dr. Liz. What would you say are some warning signs that couples need to be mindful of so that
Like
they
red
can
flags?
come in?
Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Keeping score. That's a big one. Keeping score is like a big red flag. And what I mean by that is you're walking into the house and you notice they left the refrigerator door half open. The the bowls from the kitchen are still there. The bed's not made. Their toothbrush, their toothbrush is away, but they still left some toothpaste in the sink. We're keeping score. And what we're doing is we're narrowing our focus on the negative aspects of them. And we are also missing the fact that, there's also a roast cooking in the oven. The kids are on their homework. The laundry's already stacked up on the washing machine. We're missing the good stuff. So keeping score, if you find yourself walking through and you're noticing, then what we got to do is we want to shift it over and start changing your focus and start catching the good things that they're doing, because there's got to be something good that's going on. And so we can shift it to finding things that satisfy or we enjoy ourselves in the relationship, as well as things for areas of opportunities. That's one of the things. Feeling, I would say, resentful or contemptuous. What are the feelings that are coming up when you see them and you'd rather like not spend time with them? Or you find yourself putting yourself to bed early, or they're putting themselves to bed early. They're falling asleep with the kids. There's these polite ways that we start avoiding one another. So we want to be catching, that's a red flag, because it could be legitimately that the kids have been sick for a long period of time and we accidentally got into a habit that we fall asleep in the room, or we've had a big schedule, work push at work, and I'm keeping long hours and I'm falling asleep on the couch instead of getting up and going to bed. That could be legitimately honest, but I want to get curious about that and bring that pattern up so we can shift it around. Another red flag is if you are looking forward to spending time with friends or co-workers at work, or on Facebook and things where your energy is going away from the marriage, away from the relationship. They're getting ready in the morning and thinking, I've got this business meeting and I'm going to be, say it's a Dave, and I'm going to be chatting. Dave's part of my work group, and I wonder if he's going to notice my, this new blouse or something like that. Or, you're thinking, okay, I've got a work group with this one person or this group of people, and I'm changing up how I would wear something or what I would normally wear. That might be something as well, because we're starting to put energy towards somebody or a group of other people instead of our spouse, our partner, or even for ourselves. Many of us go in there and I want to look nice for me. Cool. Keep doing it. But if the energy is I want to look better for somebody else, or if your spouse or partner is suddenly changing up their game and they're a normal, return to work on Thursday, normally they're just in a regular button down or a t-shirt or something like that, and they're changing it up. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's self-care, self-grooming, or maybe there's something else going on. And so then you start looking at the other times. Are we connecting? Are we avoiding each other? Are we talking nicely to each other? Are we keeping score the right way? We want to keep score on the great things in the relationship.
Absolutely.
Yep.
You've got some great perspectives here, Dr. Liz. Those are just
you.
some of the red flags, but certainly catching it early is probably a good idea. You also offer pet therapy. We haven't really got a lot of time to cover that, but you've got Penny, the therapy dog. That's pretty cool. And you work with people with corporate counseling too, correct?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
So that helps with people's careers. Do you work with people online, and where do they find you?
Oh, thanks. They can, they can find me on my website, which is drlizjenkins.com, or you can start following me on Facebook and Instagram for Dr. Liz Jenkins. And I also have a YouTube channel as well. So I would love to have people reach out to me.
I'll definitely reach out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
I
know lots of people that need therapy.
That's okay.
I got the doctor for you.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
We'll consider it chatting with a friend. All right.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you and all your listeners.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely, Dr. Liz. Thank you for being on the show with us. We hope you've enjoyed this latest episode. And if you want to hear more episodes of Women Road Warriors or learn more about our show, be sure to check out womenroadwarriors.com. And please follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at sjohnson@womenroadwarriors.com.